Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a rating, and a follow on Apple Podcast or a like and subscribe on YouTube. We are where podcasts can be found, which is pretty much everywhere. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/renegadepopculture. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about an extremely beefy world of animation. I mean, by golly, we got a whole lot to talk about today. On with the show, baby.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And, of course, everyone's favorite Crazy Lemur, Bree.
I'm a card-carrying member of the LGBTQIA plus community.
That's important. Yeah. We'll get to that later, but we got a great show for you tonight. Our feature topic is Season 4 of Invincible, but before we get there, we have a lot of news to talk about. Specifically, probably one of the most important festivals in animation, but even before we get there, last week, we teased that Coyote versus Acme is getting a trailer, and the trailer is out, and it looks amazing, and honestly, just the fact that this movie exists at all, and we get to see it, it is a fucking miracle.
I'm so happy, and I know some people are being weird about it, like, oh, we're finally getting this, and they're just like, what if it just turns out to be bad? And it's just like, at this point, who cares?
That's not the point. The fact is, like, you shouldn't put finished movies for write-offs. And, like, it's not like Coyote vs. Acme is the first movie to do it. If you want to go real back, the Corman Fantastic Four was one of the first victims of that, and you technically can't legally watch it anywhere. But anyway, this shit's scummy. It sucks. But you don't want to know what also sucks? People being, weird little bootlickers about, oh, maybe we're being too mean to the big corporation.
I don't get that, especially with some of our acquaintances being like, they don't need to be too mean to them throughout the whole movie. And it's like,
fucking kidding me?
Like, I'm sorry. Are you the movie that went through almost complete, utter, like, Exodiad off, like, the Mortal Coil tax write-off?
Sent to the Shadow Realm?
Like, I'm sorry, but if you're a movie or a creative team that almost got their film project yoinked from them because David Zaslav is a terrible, horrible person, what side are you on? I don't get it. Why did we know some people who are like, I like to taste the boots?
Like, the thing is, and this is what kind of blows my mind, is this idea, and it's not even just for this type of argument, but, like, in fandom spaces in general, really, when you think about it, discussing anything on the internet, is most people don't fucking care about any controversies, blah, 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 blah. I mean, look, if you want proof, look how much money the fucking Michael Jackson biopic made. I'm like, none of this fucking matters.
Our Scream 7 just, ugh. And it's just like, I just don't see, like, that's the big problem right now with the entertainment industry, especially right now, is the fact that it's being run by people who only see money. They hate the fact that it costs money to make art, and they can't weigh the risk and reward or the long-term game of making art that people want to see. Like, the whole thing with, like, we forgot to talk about this, but Disney laid off their entire physical home media team, and they're like, we're experiencing lower than expected physical sales. And it's just like, well, first off, you force a ton of your 4K animated movies to a steelbook-only version. 2, you're not making movies people want to see. Yes, you could see those dollar signs and try to tell me differently, but tell me, are you still watching any of those putrid, pointless live-action remakes? Are you watching Moana 2 again? Have you even thought about checking out or rewatching Wish? My answer is no.
I mean, like, other than the people who will watch it maybe one time out of morbid curiosity in the theaters, they're not going to buy the Blu-ray.
Nope.
Like, it's just like all these other companies are making movies I want to see. Disney, Pixar. You guys, like, yes, I liked Hopper, and I liked Zootopia too. But those are two movies. Two movies that miraculously got through their standards and practices office and were relatively unharmed for as far as we know right now.
I mean, the problem with Disney and most of the studios right now is they're making less movies. Like, Warner Brothers, to their credit, is not as egregiously bad about it. But I'm sorry, if you're only releasing 10 films a year and they're all like big budget, like, you're setting yourself up for disaster.
That is not how you run a studio. Like, the word that we used to call blockbusters is like they're the tentpole releases. They're the movies that are like guaranteed to make money. Or let me back up. These are the movies where these studios get to splurge on, like, you know, fantastic visual effects and large massive sets. But you know where most of the money is made? The mid-budget stuff, like the lower budget movies. That's why we get so many horror movies a year, because they're the cheapest to make and the easiest for fresh filmmakers to cut their teeth in the industry. Like, it sucks when studios sort of downsize the number of movies they release on a given year.
And if they do make smaller movies, the only ones they release in theaters are award season schlock, or like potential award season schlock, or they release their movies on Hulu, and or Disney Plus, I guess, or streaming, and it's just like, you know, you could have made a pretty penny off of some of those.
It's like, not only that, it's like making the assumption, like, you're aware that people over the age of 40 go to the movies. Senior citizens like to go to the movies. Like, why do you think they kept making fucking Downton Abbey movies? Which, by the way, I love Downton Abbey, so that's, I'm kind of, you know, telling on myself a little bit here. But they're also, like, in production making, like, a Call the Midwife movie. Like, people like stuff other than Marvel, DC, superhero, you know, big budget IP, you know, boom boom boo boo pit, you know, fest.
Well, it's like, that's why I was so shocked about how good, like, Warner Brothers and Neon's, like, lineup last year were. They had variety. They weren't just all big budget tentpole releases. And you could go see, like, Sinners, Weapons. Like, there's so many. And I know those are just two, but, like, or, like, you know, one battle after another.
Yeah, like, Warner Brothers had, like, a ridiculous year last year.
And it paid off.
And it's kind of not working for them right now, but they're still putting out more distinct and unique movies than Disney, where Disney is just like, we're going to pull out a Moana remake. And it's just like, oh, God.
I mean, to be fair, that's always kind of been Warner Brothers' MO from the beginning. But it's more noticeable in the current climate. Because I've been watching a lot of MeTV Tunes and watching a lot of the old Warner Brothers theatrical shorts. And, you know, there's like an ass ton of them. And they all had to be attached to movies, right? So, like, they've always made, like, a variety of things. Like, you know, Warner Brothers is one of the most historically lauded studios for a reason.
Yeah, it's like them and Universal are the ones that, you know, when you think about movies, those are like the two heavy hitters.
And then, like, even Lionsgate knows that they literally cannot make a bunch of tentpole releases anymore. Paramount's dying on the vine right now because nobody went to see their movies last year. R.I.P. Novocaine and Naked Gun. But at the very least, they put out like variety. And that's your one good praise, Paramount, which you're probably going to fuck that up. And I'm not watching any of your movies this year, so up yours, Allison's. And it's just so funny because like, who wouldn't want to see a Looney Tunes courtroom drama, like a comedic like drama thriller about Coyote finally going to sue Acme Corporation for the decades of almost near death experiences of trying to capture the Roadrunner.
And it's like, oh, by the way, John Cena's the main villain in this.
And like Will Forte's there, and there's that scene where Foghorn Leghorn is playing like a corrupt hierarchy from the Acme Corporation. And the marketing for this is so good. That like cease and desist letter or whatever that they uploaded on the Instagram.
I love this. They Catch Up Entertainment is having a ball with the marketing campaign because A, they kind of have nothing to lose. And B, like they were able to do this pretty much because fans demanded to get this movie out there. And also it helps that The Day the Earth Blew Up was like critically well regarded.
And it made actually a pretty good box office profit. So like, yes, it was a small release, but they did expand that small release because people wanted to see the movie. It's just like how the digital circus thing is going right now. They limited it at first because they didn't know how many people would want to do this. The demand and money came in, and they were like, holy smokes, let's get it all out there, man. So it's just so asinine that, like, all the projects, and listen, every studio has a graveyard. We know this. Everyone should know this. Like, between 2022 and now, the fact that Zaslav was just, like, going left and right, killing projects, and, like, same with, like Bob Iger and Pete Docter at Disney being like, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, let's cancel this, cancel that. Oh, you know what people want to see? A Maleficent 2. And it's just like...
Look, I will defend the Maleficent movies. I'm sorry, they are high camp. Like, I wish all the Disney live-action remakes were that in Cruella. I would have a much better time if they were.
Yeah, I'll back you up on that. Mistress of Evil, when it's not trying to be like a Sleeping Beauty remake, when it's just doing its own thing,
yeah,
insane.
It's just, they're just vamping it up.
But my point is, they're killing ambitious or more creative projects. And, well, what if they weren't going to be good? Who knows? Who cares? It would have at least been something worth talking about, because who's walking out of any of the Marvel movies recently and being like, man, I had a life-changing experience. Black Panther got lucky. Or, like, some of those Marvel movies got lucky that they were given a bit more freedom to tackle certain subject matters and had writing that was actually good because of the people attached to them. Ryan Coogler, James Gunn. Like, their teams were the reason why Guardians and Black Panther were so good. Who left last year out of Fantastic Four? Or what were the other ones? There was that one, Thunderbolts, and...
I only saw Fantastic Four, and I'll say this, because I've actually watched the Corman one. It is maybe only marginally better.
Which is kind of sad.
And then that whole thing where the Russos, on top of their stupid AI nonsense recently, were like, nothing from the recent phase matters. You just gotta watch Endgame, and that's it. And it's like, wow, way to throw all the other people under the bus and say that their movies didn't matter. When, funny enough, some of them are making better things than the Russos. Hi, Chloe Zhao and Hamnet. It's so frustrating, these companies. And, again, Coyote, lawsuit drama against Acme. Who doesn't want that? It's not like it's going to be Space Jam where those things are intellectually and entertainment-wise hollow experiences.
Yeah, this actually feels like more of a spiritual successor to Who Framed Roger Rabbit from like a thematic perspective, and not just, oh, it's cartoons interacting with the real world.
Like, I know people love Looney Tunes Back in Action. I think that movie's just fine.
Honestly, same.
It has its moments.
But that's the thing. A movie that had Brendan Fraser and Steve Martin bouncing, and I forgot the actress's name, bouncing off of the Looney Tunes should have been way better, but it wasn't. And on top of all this, with Coyote versus Acme, it's like seeing these pockets of the entertainment industry from around the world pushing back against the rotting corpses of these bloated behemoth executives. Saying, like, people don't want interesting things. People don't want queer representation or girl power movies or whatever. They don't want to be challenged or watch something interesting. We just want their money. Then the Annecy lineup happens, and boy, would I look like a stupid executive if I saw how much excitement there is from a lot of people from the lineup of films that will be showing up at the Annecy Film Festival this year, which is, I think Katsuka, the French animation news site, counted at least 44 movies.
Damn.
And that's not even counting the Annecy classics that they're going to show. This is like Presents, Midnight Specials, Work in Progress, the Contra Champ, and the main competition. And boy, does all of this stuff that they're making, that they're showing and such, is going to be so much more interesting than what they're going to be making here in the US. Except for maybe like Forgotten Island. But that's because DreamWorks is DreamWorks. And Laika and such, which they're going to have previews of Forgotten Island and Wildwood this year, like at the festival, which this year is going to be great for animated movies. Not just foreign movies, but just, it's a way better year than it was last year. And considering we don't have a K-pop Demon Hunters to save anyone this year, like the industry this year, consider yourself lucky that a lot of artists are still going to put in the elbow grease to make amazing work. Like, for example, with the main competition section, we have a new movie from the director of The Girl Without Hands and Chicken for Linda, Carmen, the Rebellious Bird. And we might have to do a little retrospective episode about this guy, about Sebastian Laudenbach's work, because The Girl Without Hands and Chicken for Linda are like two of the best animated films from the 2010s and the 2020s so far. Then there's a new movie from the director of Bird Boy and Unicorn Wars, Alberto Vasquez, with Decorado, which, funny enough, was a movie that played at Fantastic Fest and Animation is Film last year. I assume it's here along with the Chinese animated film Nobody, because they missed the Annecy release window. Which, that's happened before, where a movie comes out after Annecy, but then plays at Annecy the next year. And such. And some of these were like from the work in progress from last year. Like In Waves, The Corset, which is also known as Fallen, and also known as The Iron Boy, which, God, that movie has like 3 different titles, depending on how it's translated. Like The Corset, or Fallen, or Iron Boy, about, on a farm in the Beauce region, 10-year-old Christoph followed in his father's footsteps. So Christoph keeps leaning and falling. He has to wear a corset, or like an iron brace, basically, to walk straight. He then develops a passion for music and deals with the fact that the modernization of farming is happening and his family might get left behind. Which, That's cool. It just reminds you that a lot of these people who are making animated films from around the world are like, yeah, it's animated. It's just another way to tell a story.
Which I love, and also you know me. Any movie that has to do with music, I'm immediately like that much more interested. Same thing with the Chinese entry in the main lineup, Tana.
Which is being directed by the guy who did Whitesnake from 2019,
Oh hell yeah.
Which is a great freaking movie. Ji Zhao. And it's not by Light Chaser Animation, but this one sounds really cool. Like this girl trying to find her soul and going back to Mongolia from Shanghai. I wonder if she's going to do, because again, some of these movies don't have clips or trailers yet. That kind of comes after or near Annecy. Tana sounds like, just for that one visual, and this is just a completely wild guess, and that the fact that it takes place in Mongolia, I wonder if she's going to do Mongolian throat singing, which is, like, you've probably heard it if you watch, like, the trailers for the second Sisu movie, Sisu Road to Revenge, or watch, like, Marco Polo on Netflix.
Or if you've ever heard the band The Who, spelled H-U.
Yeah. Then Tangles is going to play in the main competition, which is also playing at the Cannes Film Festival. We Are Aliens is also playing at the Cannes Film Festival, which is the French-Japanese collaboration. Lucy Lost and In Ways were both from the Work in Progress section from last year and are competing this year. And The Violinist was also a Work in Progress entry from last year. There are trailers for some of these, like The Violinist, and it just, all these movies look promising, enticing, cool, or, as I know from watching Nobody, just a miracle of creativity and wonder. And then with the Contrachamp section, we have, for those who don't know, the Contrachamp section is basically animated films that do not fit a certain audience or way of making an animated movie. This is where last year's Endless Cookie came from, which, we watched, and it was basically an interview podcast kind of thing. And we got films like The 58th, which is, by the way, a lot of Philippine filmmaking representation in this festival. Nice. There are maybe...
Love to see it.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a world of creatives from countries that you may not even think about because you just don't know about it, or you just think, oh, it's from the Philippines or something, like where animation mills are, so they'll just make a bunch of cheap stuff. And it's like, no. There are creatives constantly working in places like China, South Korea, and the Philippines that are honing their craft so they can make their own work. Like I said, the 58th is there. The Berlin Film Festival entry, A New Dawn, which is another Japanese-French collaboration, which looks so pretty, is in there. Blaze, we talked about that one last episode. O Filho da Puta, if you know Brazilian, you know what that says. It's basically son of a bitch. And like there's that. One of my ones I'm really looking forward to is Mu Yi, which is a French movie, which was, I think, in the Work in Progress section a while back. It's being made by Studio La Cachette, which worked on stuff like Primal and like other like film or TV or ad projects and such.
Oh, this looks cool.
Yeah, it has this great watercolor art style look to it. And
yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it does. Peleliu, Granica of Paradise. I remember this came out, I think, in December of last year in Japan. But a war movie with this kind of cutesy looking art style. It reminds me of this anthology film called The Cockpit, which was brought over and shined a light on. It's going to sound bad, and I have to rewatch it again, and maybe it is just that kind of like, oh, why? But like The Axis, side of things. So it followed like a kamikaze fighter and Japanese Mongol fighters and such, and one German pilot who were, of course, for the Nazis and such. But it's just that's different, and we don't get a lot of animated war movies. Which, now thinking about it, yeah, like what was that like? What was that dog movie from like 2018? I think it was like Sergeant Gruff or something like that that came out. It was like a small release, and it was like it took place in World War One, and it was just like about this dog. It was like semi biographical about a dog that helped U.S. and French allies and such. There's the Orbit of Minor Satellites, which is from Japan, and I don't know if there's footage of it, but it doesn't look like anything from Japan. It looks like something from like Hungary or some other parts of Europe. Just that look of the bison devil dude or whatever that is. There's one that looks like a paper craft or cardboard animation from Italy called Spacetime Chronicles. The Obsessed from Japan is a musical that came out in December. And I mean like an actual musical, not just, oh, we got a bunch of pop songs to play. No, this movie is like a full-blown animated Disney musical. Something that Disney is not very good at making right now. And I love it because it also has this really chunky, blocky art style to it.
Yeah, I like the unconventional character design in that like preview image.
Yeah, and then there's like Winnipeg Siege of Hope, which also has a trailer for it from Spain, Chile, and Argentina. And it doesn't look as good. It looks a little like motion tweened, but knowing how hard it is to actually do some of that stuff, it actually looks pretty good. And then like Taiwan has a movie, Welcome to Dolly's House, which you look at that preview image and it's like, whoa. Like, that's trippy, but very cool. And it's just all these movies that are here from either the main two sections or the present section, which has, by the way, a cartoon saloon movie coming out called Julian, which a friend of the podcast, Ruben, was worried that they canceled it because it has to deal with a male mermaid, and they were thinking, oh boy, here come queer subtext, and we can't have that now. And it's just like, listen, until they actually say something, don't worry about it. This is foreign animation. This isn't under Zaslav or Disney.
Exactly. You're safe.
But there's other like films from France, Belgium, Japan. Like, this is what I love. This is the stuff that I thrive for. And even in like some of the stuff like Mochi Yugly is kind of like, okay, I don't really want to see that. Or whatever this Monster Mia film is. It's at least something like different. And like, man, I just realized Japan is in here a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just looking at all these and it's like, yeah, I want to see these. Like, even if they aren't good, I want to check some of these out. Or like the Midnight Special, which like has some like movie. Well, it has the Sekiro TV series that's getting made. But some other, like, there's a South Korean movie called Employee Sports Festival. There's this film called Gregor. There's a movie from Germany called Soul Shift. And something that I think a lot of people are not talking a lot about is there's a lot of queer representation in this year. There's Gym Queen, which is going to be playing at the con and Annecy Film Festival. There's the Philippine action heroine movie Zaza Zatrna. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And after all of the nonsense that the studios try to peddle out because they're like, people don't want to see queer stories, it's like, apparently they do because these got made through crowdfunding efforts. And people seem to be really excited about them. So it just makes like, and nothing against the people who are working in the U.S. animation scene. I understand how much of a nightmare it is to work in that thing right now. But it's also just like, man, foreign animation just has it, you know? And I mean, there are some other things in here, like, you could hear Brad Bird's going to show off some of Ray Gun there. Like we said, Wildwood's going to be there.
And then the Toei 70th anniversary, which, wow, that seems insane to say.
Yeah, 70 years. That's a lot.
And the guy behind the new Remy Chayette film is going to be previewing there, called Fleur, which has a super cute art style with these bats running through the city with flowers, like holding on to flowers, and it's like, that's adorable looking. I want to see that. And it's by the director who made Long Way North, which is one of my favorite movies from 2016, and made one of Mike's and I's favorite movies from 2021, Calamity, which sadly has no distribution.
Come on, guys, it's been 5 years. Please give us something.
And then there's like a new... Warner Brothers is going to have a new Daffy short called Daffy Season, which apparently is about Daffy realizing that everyone's being mind controlled under the control of soccer season. There's going to be a preview for the Ghost in the Shell anime that's getting made. They're going to show...
it looks so good. I really... Oh, yeah, like, that might be one of my most hyped series of the year.
We're definitely going to talk about it once it gets its full release window out. Well, they're going to have the Cat in the Hat there, which... I hope it's better than the trailers give off. It's just... You only have one chance for a first impression, and the fact that it's just not a great first impression...
I can't deal with the cat with teeth. Something about it is just so off-putting. Like, I just expect the cat to have, like, a Muppet mouth.
It should. Like, it's creepy looking, and I love Bill Hader, but...
As long as the movie is good, I can get past it. I'm trying to give this movie the benefit of the doubt, because I need Warner Brothers Pictures animation to be where it was in the past.
We're gonna, like, Duncan Jones, the director of Moon and Mute and the Warcraft movie, has a new animated film coming out based off of the Rogue Trooper franchise, which, cool, alright. There's a Paw Patrol preview, whatever. There's some making of things for, like, the new Rick and Morty spinoff about President Curtis. A new Adult Swim comedy called My Two Cars. It's just, like, a dream of mine is to go to Annecy, because why... I want to go here. It's basically my Comic-Con, my E3. I want to go where the people... Well, to quote Howard Ashman's amazing writing, I want to be where the people are.
one more thing that I thought was really cool. The brothers Kaye are doing a little a masterclass of their body of work, which is honestly pretty cool.
What did they do again?
They did a lot of like short films with stop motion, and I think Christopher Nolan even produced like a documentary about their work.
That's fun. And then, like, this isn't even counting, like, the the work in progress section where you get to see what films and shows might show up next year. With, like, there's that Bahubali, The Eternal War, which I think a trailer was released for it, and some of the people who worked on Arcane are working on it. And India's animation scene isn't great or as substantial as, like, Europe's, but the fact that this just looks amazing, and that it has, like, some of the Arcane people behind it, like, sure, I want to see it, gimme. Or if you want a good example of animation from India, go to Netflix and watch Bombay Rose. It's great.
Yes.
There's the highly anticipated but extremely maybe epileptic Kill Tube, which just looks bananas if you've seen the trailers for it, but like I want to see that. There's a movie from Greece, which I never even think about Greece having any kind of animation scene. It's a collaboration. It's called EG, and it's a collaboration between Georgia and Greece. There's a Monkey Quest movie, which, oh boy, it's like between Japan and United States. I'm kind of curious about that. The new, what was it? The new Peanuts movie, Snoopy Unleashed.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That looks really cute.
Yeah, it does.
Is that the same director who worked on the Peanuts movie?
Let's see here. Steve Martino. Let me just quickly see.
Who's distributing that? Because
I think it's Apple. I think it's Apple Plus.
Yeah, I figure it's still Apple, but oh yeah, because they renewed their deal, even though Sony now has majority ownership of Peanuts.
Yes, Mike, it is Steve Martino, the same guy who directed Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who, Ice Age Continental Drift, and the Peanuts movie.
Nice.
So.
I was wondering, I was like, wow, that kind of looks like the Peanuts movie. But that's kind of cool that he kind of got to revisit it all these years later, but now they have Apple money, so he can do whatever.
I think, well, like I said, I think it's Apple because that's just been the home of the Peanuts specials and such. And I just, it's interesting to see, like, Apple dive back a little into animation because...
Yeah, I think that new Cartoon Saloon show that they have on there, My Brother the Minotaur, just dropped the other day.
Yeah, we got to talk about that one. I want to see that. And... it's just interesting because it seemed like after what was that movie that Skydance did with them for them? Luck, I think it was called. It just seemed like after the failure of Wolfwalkers not getting an Oscar and Luck just being not good, they were like, no, we're not going to do any more animated movies, and that bummed me the hell out. It's like, man.
Well, I think they kind of came around to it. When I know, like, it's a little bit saccharine sweet, but what was that, like, the boy, the horse, and the fox, what was that came out a couple years ago?
Yeah, that was the short that everyone loathed, that obviously won the best animated short at the Oscars. Well, they thought it was just so saccharine and just like, oh, this is cringe, and it's like, I don't hate it.
No, I'm like, it's nice, positive affirmations for children, and the animation's pretty.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wanted the, I think it was called like ice or like cliff jumpers or something like short that year.
Cliff hoppers?
Yeah, cliff hoppers to win that year, but I understand why this one did.
Yeah, and it cleared at the Annie's, so I think that kind of gave Apple a bit go ahead. Like, okay, maybe it was just Skydance. Let's just try it again. We'll try with Peanuts. I mean, Peanuts are good. That's been a proven IP. Let's give it a go.
And they did win a few Annie Awards, like, literally from this year because of Peanuts, so...
yeah.
It just... this, and I love this. The opening night movie for the Annecy Film Festival is The Minions, the movie, so... So, I don't know, man. It's like, I could go on and on and on about some of these movies. Like, maybe if more footage pops out for some of these, we can come back to it before the Annecy Film Festival. But go to the Annecy website, look through the different categories. They have so much to show there. And I just can't wait, because this is where you can start hypothesizing what is going to show up in animation as film. It's usually whatever gets the biggest buzz out of the con and Annecy, animation-wise. And even then, like, again, 44 movies at this festival. That is so much, and I hope it all does well. And maybe Neon and A24 will learn their lesson about animation distribution, even though it's still, like, Arco still did pretty well in general for Neon, but still. Like, like, I just can't expect G Kids to pick up all these movies.
Yeah, they need other people to to like pick up the
Step
slack.
up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we could talk about this for its own episode of what these distributors need to do. Because, like, I could absolutely see some of these going, like Neon being like, in waves, yoink. The corset, yoink. Or like G Kids getting that one, maybe. Maybe G Kids will get Nobody. Please, someone bring over Nobody.
Please,
Is one of the
please.
It's one of the best. Stop. This is another topic we could talk about. Why are all the distributors now afraid to bring over Chinese animation? And is it like China being like, no, we don't have to go to you guys. We could just release it ourselves. But even then, it's just like so much.
I think it's less of China, but I noticed a lot of the ones that don't get brought over are the 2D ones. They're like, oh, 2D animation doesn't do well theatrically. Except, fucking Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man, I guess.
Yeah, like, fuck those guys, I guess. No, it's just... My brain is going to fry if I talk more about my excitement for the Annecy Film Festival, because it's one of my favorite events to keep an eye out on. And I just wish they could bring back the virtual events. Like, please. I understand copyright is a huge issue, but there would be more interest in this stuff if you gave people a chance, even if you just put up a 20-minute preview of each movie. Not the whole movies themselves, just like a preview or something. Then we could talk about it and be like, yeah, I'd like to see more of that. Or something like that, It's just...
Yeah, because we talk often about how animation fans are notoriously incurious, but in their defense, these movies aren't as accessible as they could be, but doing even just the bare minimum of showing a little preview of what's going on at Annecy could help a great deal.
Yeah, it's just, animation is cool. I wish the fandom and the industry didn't treat it like garbage, because it's not all these other cool animated films' fault that nobody went to see the Wuthering Heights movie. Or lost interest in some of the other films that came out, or Universal decided to screw over, what's the romance movie that came out that had Halle Berry in it?
Oh, Yumi and Tuscany?
Yeah. So, where they're just like, nobody wants to see romantic comedies, and it's just like, you don't do that to just one fucking movie, but put all the faith and hope into the success of this genre into one movie, and it's like...
One of the most shocking thing is, I didn't even know it came out, but, in the United States, the last, Bridget Jones movie went just to Peacock. And I'm like, that's so insane to me, because the Bridget Jones movies make a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, they forgot that you can still make a lot of money if you have a smaller budget and you don't try to fret over reshoots and such.
But what's even crazier is that it got a theatrical release, in the UK and, overseas. It was just the United States that went straight to Peacock. It was so weird.
Yeah, which is just kind of, rude.
Yeah, just, come on. But yeah, just... all this cool stuff. I cannot wait to hear more about these movies. I am sure G Kids is going to take up a good part of the week because what they did last year was when Annecy happened, they were like, hey, the first day, hey, we got Chow. The next day, hey, we got Little Amelie. The next day, hey, we got All You Need Is Kill. The next day, hey, we got Another World, which we still haven't seen yet, which I hope that comes out soon. Because it's one of their few Chinese animated film purchases. And it's just like that when you listen to the Cannes Film Festival feed. At Neon, it's just like, oh, that one could be award potential? Yoink. What about that one? Yoink. That one's mine. That one's also mine. Too late, A24. I got this one. Mine. So, just... it's exciting. As exhausting as festival season can be, I'm still looking forward to so much that's coming out. But it's time. It's finally time to talk about Invincible Season 4. And I was thinking we'd have a cute gag where every time we would try to say Invincible, we would play the theme song. But then we would have that power surge situation where it was like every other sentence. So where it's like
Lord.
it's like the biggest flaw of but let's talk about this. So I feel like even though this season where we finally get Invincible reuniting with Nolan and taking on the Viltrumites, finally, this season seemed to kind of throw people off. And we'll talk a few aspects about this. But before we get there...
Yeah, can I say one thing first?
Shoot.
Regardless of what any criticisms that we say, and that includes me lovingly, air quotes, calling this series Invincicrunch. Any complaints about the animation or any of this stuff, like, this season, it is plain and obvious that this was made in a lot of pressure, and a lot of things, like, reusing, like, models, like, especially during, like, a certain flashback would be like, hey, how's that possible? And then, like, reusing assets and, like, other animation errors. Do not go after the crew. They made the best show that they could under really fucking shit circumstances.
That's the first part. The animation has noticeably gotten worse. And two things that I want to say. Yes, the fight scenes are where it quote-unquote shines. And yes, some shills and influencers are like, well, I'm not here for the animation, which is a weird thing to say about an animated show. I'm here for the story and the writing. That's all that I care about. Okay.
We'll get to that.
Well, first of all, would you be saying this if you had to sit through the spring or any seasonal anime drop where half of the animation is going to look god-awful? Or to even, why the hell are they doing this when they obviously don't have the time, money, and resources?
And it's only going to be remotely, like, watchable if you buy the Blu-ray that's, like, $80.
Or you're a season or a show like Release the Witch and you get your run cut short because somehow this production lost all of its money. So it's only going to get 8 episodes instead of it's 12. I've never seen an anime fall into that trap because
yeah, that's honestly wild.
Like, even at its worst, at its most slapped together with glue and paper clips.
Yeah, usually you hear stuff like episodes delays. Like, I remember a couple years ago, Zom 100 had, like, multiple delays, but they still got their episode order out eventually.
Exactly. Even X-Arm got its 12 episodes out. And that, well, you know, never has well, maybe not never, but I've never seen an anime...
In recent memory.
Yeah, or to quote Iron Chef, if memory serves me correctly. Never seen a show get its run cut short like that. And with Invincible, they only have 8 episodes. You're working for Amazon. Why is Amazon or Robert Kirkman or whoever is in charge of the budgets for this show not giving it to the animators?
You know what? From my perspective, I'm not sure if it would make Invincible's budget magically, like, better, but I think making each episode 50 minutes, it's kind of a mistake. Like, I get it that Robert Kirkman wanted it to be like a TV drama, but there's a reason why most animated streaming shows are usually between, like, 22 and 36 minutes for a very distinct reason.
Yeah, like, the only other example I can think of where an episode of an animated show is double length are, like, the first 2 seasons of Justice League, but even then, like, they split the story in multiple parts as opposed to just airing one long 50-minute episode each week. And another thing, I need to get this point out because I remember this really bothering me when people were complaining about the long gap between the first and second season. And I don't remember if I said this on air, but I warned people you're going to have a whole lot more complaints if this show is rushed out every year just to meet a deadline. And look what's happening.
As much as people listen, there's the great quote from Satoshi Kon: "The animation doesn't have to be good; it has to be interesting." And to a degree, yeah, a man who has worked in the anime industry, who has had to work under limitations and crunches, even at working at the best of the best studios you could ever think of, like Production IG or Studio Madhouse or whatever. It's yes, I agree with that sentiment, but I also feel like that's going to be taken really out of context, or it's going to be co-opted like the animation is cinema or the 1-inch barrier quotes from Del Toro and Bong Joon-ho, which, by the way, Bong Joon's animated film that's coming out next year is being picked up by Neon, so...
Oh, sweet.
Hell yeah.
But again, what you say is interesting. Honestly, that's so much of Invincible's problem, is so many of these designs and this animation is just kind of fucking boring. Even, the fight choreography, because I noticed this, because I'm an oldie. Bleach, in particular, I remember doing this a lot. So, to save budget, what they would do a lot of times is they would either do, quick cuts or, not draw something one instance I think of, Komamura's Bankai. In the original anime, you rarely see that thing drawn in its full body, seeing the whole thing. And when it was usually just, a still frame, which, by the way, Invincible has quite a few of those this season. But they did that to make the animation look more dynamic than it actually is. Invincible does that, but also, just, the choreography of the fights, it just seems like half the time the camera is just, in one place. I think in particularly with, the space fights, you kind of notice that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's not very interesting. I'm not saying that every fight has to be, Sakuga all the time, but it's okay, move left, right. I'm so tempted to hit fast forward, because it's okay, what's the point of this?
Well, it half the fight choreography doesn't have weight to it.
It doesn't. None of the punches, it just feels like they're hitting air half the time.
And the whole thing about the animation quality is, you guys talk about, I'm not here for the animation, I'm here for the story. Y'all sent so many fucking death threats to the team behind One Punch Man Season 3, because it's basically having the same issues that One Punch Man Season 3 had, because of that stupid deadline of theirs, where, at the very least, blame the execs who said, we're not going to give you an entire year to make One Punch Man Season 3. It's going to be 7 months. And it's who does that? You could get that done with a live action thing, but animation, especially with something like One Punch Man, no.
Absolutely not.
And it's just so funny because they'll be I'm here for the story. Okay, well, I don't think the story's that good. Bree, I'll ask you this. You don't follow, a lot of, the comic book stuff, the superhero stuff, but you were, an editor for a YouTuber that did talk about this show, so you had to, get yourself into the zone, as they say.
Yeah, I had to quote one of our former presidents, educate myself.
So, what was it like to you to dive into this show? What was it like watching this show? I'm curious.
Well, for me, it's because I knew about the Acme special. It's that special is good. It's kind of a shame they never did anything else with her character.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But, it's, like, weird. I don't hate this. Honestly, for me, coming at it from, like, a writing perspective, it honestly was, like, the runtime. Like, I could see a place where you could do, like, a 50-minute episode for animation. I just think long-term, it's kind of a bad idea. I think once you're getting there, it's like, okay, it's too short to be a movie, but it feels like too long to be like a TV episode. Because even if you're using like the network TV example that Kirkman was using, most network TV shows are like 44 minutes, including commercials. So like you're already going like 4 to 6 minutes over to begin with. For me, it feels like the pacing is either breakneck or it goes like an iceberg. So you need to kind of have like the happy medium, and I kind of wish instead of just like, oh, it has to be like 50 minutes or whatever, they could play with the runtime like, okay, maybe this one episode is 36 minutes. Maybe like this one or big finale, maybe that one should be close to an hour. It lacks any spontaneity to me. Like, I get what the story's trying to do. I think it does have good ideas. Again, I don't hate this show. I don't hate this season, but I think just having this demand of like these long episodes where the story doesn't necessarily need it is kind of killing it.
And here's the other problem, and I'm saying this as someone who has not read the comic, but is aware that at least like the main comic has 144 issues, which is equal to 25 volumes. And that's a lot of material to cover, but in adapting the show, it's not really even a straight adaptation because, of course, there's going to be some deviations to the source material, but also, like, what exactly does that mean for the longevity of the show? Like,
well, here's the thing, from what I understand, is that, and this is probably why the first couple, the first and second season were, like, not just better visually, but, like, the pacing was a lot better, is they just kind of, like, not exactly did, like, the MCU method, but they just adapted, like, the overall, like, overarching story, where now episodes are just straight up, like, chapters or issues from, like, the comic.
Except for one episode, which...
Oh, yeah. Your favorite episode.
Well, first off, it's like, I just want to talk a little bit about the pacing before we because it kind of ties into that episode. If you're not going to adapt it directly, but you're also rushing through so much of the storyline, like, Season 3 rushed through so much plot. The Invincible War should have been the whole season. Instead, it wasn't.
It was like, what? Like
2 episodes?
I think it wasn't even 2 episodes. It was literally, I think just
the last episode.
No, it's the penultimate. I think it was just episode 7, and then episode 8 was just Conquest.
See, that's the thing. It's like they rushed through that just because they wanted to end with the Conquest fight. And listen, I like Conquest. I liked Jeffrey Dean Morgan as him. There's a lot of interesting aspects to Conquest that I'm assuming was done maybe better in the comics. It wasn't as hilariously creepy as him saying, "I am so lonely." and such. But then with this new season, they're like, okay, we're gonna still follow the plot of the comics, and we're building up to the big Viltrumite fight. Except for the 3rd episode, I think.
It was episode 4.
Episode 4.
The hell episode.
Not part of the comic. Exclusively made for the show. To partially build up on that tease from the last season of the devil detective dude having something going on, saying like, hey, maybe we can get Satan back to his utmost power because we can get Invincible there.
Yeah, but it's like, why are you doing this now?
And fine. it's cool. I did like the joke of them doing the whole Invincible Protection Agency, Inc., and him being like, so where am I going? To hell. And it jump cuts to hell, literally. And it's like, okay, that was funny. The rest of the show episode is not that. And it's so long. It is so boring. I understand what they were trying to do with some of the interactions. Like, because the whole first half of this season is Mark struggling and fighting to whether he will be himself as a hero who is constantly burned out and realizing and trying not to murder everyone in front of him, or will he become his dad and absolutely murder people? Like that whole first episode was him struggling to like justify why you shouldn't kill this alien who is taking the electricity, or that guy who could turn into a were dinosaur and such. Where it's,
but it's like it's at this point, because I've been deep diving for this, like it feels like we're just hitting the same beats again and again. And I talked to like one of my colleagues, and he said like his tolerance and like interest in Mark's arc is starting to wear thin. And you know what? I kind of get it.
I get it too. It's tedious now. I mean, like, Mike, what do you think about that? Because this whole... It's so weird how this season is set up with the first 4 episodes, and then the last 4 being the whole Viltrumite stuff.
I get what people are saying when it comes to Mark. It does get frustrating where he keeps going back and forth about whether or not he wants to be a killer, but I'm pretty sure the show has made it clear that like in times of war or when it's absolutely necessary, yeah, you gotta make the tough choice, and you gotta sometimes if you have to kill, then you have to kill.
I mean, that was the whole thing with Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. If that movie was made today, the executives would have been like, but they're brothers. You can't have brother killing brother. And it's like, one of them's a straight up Nazi, dude. What the hell are you talking about? And that was like the only thing in that movie that the good brother could do. He was like, you know what, brother? It's tragic that you went down this route. I have a spell that can end all of this. And he just pulls out a gun and shoots him. And it's like, well, and it's so funny how the show tried to write around this whole thing of Mark. Like, should Mark kill people? Yeah. Maybe he should kill a few villains because all they're going to do is keep coming back and causing more death. Like, that whole thing with the aliens from the Mars story arc, where they're like, dude, I had 1 second left. I could have gone there and shot the trank or whatever, like the dart at it. And they're like, whoa, Invincible, that was the worst thing you could ever have possibly done. And then, like, Rex was puked up one of those aliens that luckily Monster Girl crushed before it could latch onto him and repopulate again. Then the show's like, oh, wait a minute, he has a good point. Maybe we should start putting an end to some of these supervillains. Maybe not the Rhino parody, like the elephant dude, who... I still love that scene where, from the last season, where Mark is with Oliver and Eve, and the elephant guy just realized, like, hey, wait a minute. Am I just a joke to you guys? I'm not here to be some pity party. Because he's not that big of a threat of a villain and such. So, I don't know. It's just the weird flip-flopping between justifying it and saying, but Mark. And it's just like, yeah, what about him? And then it's like, so if you're not interested in the Mark stuff, then you have to go and find something else to be interested in, which is like the Nolan Allen stuff.
In the first half of the season, my favorite episode was Nolan and Allen going and gathering all of the stuff.
Also, that's a joke. Funny every fucking time.
Yeah, and just realizing how the moment Nolan walks out to get some fresh air, he realizes that there are empty rooms. And I think the alien captain, who is inept as hell, is very lucky he wasn't purple paste across the ship.
But it shows how much Nolan's grown.
But I would do that, like...
Because 2 months ago, that guy would have been paste.
He's like, you had other rooms. Yeah, we thought you were like a throuple and such. What indication did we give you that we were a throuple? Like I said, I do like some of the jokes in this show. I still laughed at some of them. And I do like some of the characters. Like, I still love Alan. I'm not a big fan of his girlfriend or love interest, just because she's not all that interesting of a character. I remember Sarcastic brought up a good point about this, that, like, a big part of Invincible is a lot of the women's main arc and identity are tied to the guys that they're hooking up with. Well, it's like, once I heard that, it's like, now I can't unsee that.
It's unfortunate, but yeah.
It's kind of funny that you would think, because they fixed it. Amber and gave her more agency than she had in the comics. And I get most of these comics were written like 20 plus years ago, and like a lot of these problems are not exclusively like Invincible problems. Unfortunately, they're very common tropes in Western comics, especially. But you know, you do shit like the Adam Eve special, and it's like, okay. And okay, I guess we're just not gonna get anything. Alright, fine, I guess.
Eve gets sidelined so hard into this. And they try to build up the whole, like, oh, she's pregnant. Is she going to keep the kid or is she not? And it's just like, the show is written in a way to make this big reveal. And boy, howdy, am I glad I turned off, like, no part of my feed to have idiotic fandom bullshit on my algorithm, because I did not want to look up what people thought about Eve being a little curvier by the end of the season. So, and that's the whole thing with the abortion. If I had a nickel for every Amazon Prime original animated show to have to deal with a possible or maybe abortion plotline, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but the fact that I can count 2 of them is kind of absurd.
It's just like, and that's just such a common thing. What is Invincible as a story and a series goal? Like, in terms of the adaptation and, like, the original, like, are you just embracing, like, superhero comics and just plussing it? Or are you trying to, you know, go beyond, you know, the genre or whatever? Because right now, it's like, what is there about this that I haven't seen in, like, other things?
I think that's the problem right now with superhero media, is the fact that there's nothing extremely fresh or interesting about it. You just kind of hope that it's executed well enough to be fun, entertaining, or have a good story. Again, I think films like the Guardians of the Galaxy and Black Panther got extremely lucky. They had really good people behind them. And it's like when, back in 2018, when The Incredibles 2 came out, and everyone was like, cool, what is this saying about superheroes now that I couldn't get and expanded upon with My Hero Academia and such? And I guess, like, Invincible is still trying to be a breakdown of superhero movies, but
it's, like, doing the same thing, especially if, like, the female characters, you know, I'm not saying that it has to be the most feminist work that's ever existed, but what is it doing different than, say, like, I don't know, The Boys is kind of slightly doing better?
Like we said, Eve gets sidelined for the whole show, and the last time we see her is when she finds out she's pregnant and doesn't tell Mark, which, again, sometimes these shows just could still have good writing if they just talk to one another and not just wait until the very end to give even more stress on the Mark.
Yeah, I think that's just a trope that I've really gotten to loathe. And this happened a lot back in the CW era of superhero shows where characters don't communicate, which creates like further problems down the road, problems that could be solved if the two characters just talk to each other.
It's like one of the worst writing tropes, in my opinion, where it's just nobody talks to one another. And then we get to the whole, like, again, a perfect example of how wonky this whole season is when Nolan and Debbie reunite. And how between J.K. Simmons and Sandra Oh is great, and Sandra Oh is just nailing it, hitting it out of the freaking park with the whole diatribe that Debbie goes on. Boy, howdy, would have looked better if it had an animation budget and it didn't look like she was walking like a South Park character half the time when she was walking towards Nolan, and then, oh, she's breaking up with the guy who's actually good for her because Nolan's sorry, guys. Nolan's sorry.
He's so sorry. I mean, he is sorry, but also, like, yo, like, we need, like, a little bit more recovery time and, like, rebuilding any semblance of having a normal relationship.
But, boy, they kind of hit the fast forward on that, where Debbie's just like, fine, I might want to get back with you. Who cares about the guy who was actually good for me?
Oh, the line about that really pissed me off was, oh, by the way, off screen we ended things because we were just too different.
It's just like, what are you talking about? We barely seen you guys on screen together because the show's dealing with 500 other plots. Like, oh god, just, it's like this show, like, it's frustrating because at first it's like, yes, let Nolan deal with the consequences of being a murderous psychopath. Like, I love that scene with him in, what's his name, Cecil? Where he's just like, okay, you're sorry. I want you to stay the fuck away from me, and if you try anything, even with making this security system to detect the Viltrumites, you do one thing wrong, I will kill you. And like how he's still, like, even like standing there, it's like, yeah, I'm still scared to shit by you, so. But then it's just like at the end of that, it's like, oh well, Nolan's going to get his redemption arc anyway, and it's just like, I know they've been building that up, but can they at least, like, if we're going to get 9 seasons of this, please drag out his redemption arc for at least another season. But I don't even know if they want to do 9 seasons, because Amazon's going to be like, well, can you do it cheaper? No? Well, we'll can it at 5 seasons then.
That's another thing. I kind of noticed this. The Boys is on its 5th and final season. Hazbin Hotel has announced that it's been renewed for a 5th and final season. Is 5 like the magic number at Amazon?
I think it is, because Vox Machina is getting 5 seasons, which I was kind of interested in that aspect. And also, the whole writing and the pacing of this show, it's like, well, what do you expect? What's a good example of this? The Mighty Nine. That has a way better pace, way better animation, and it has a really compelling story to tell.
Oh, we still have to talk about that, by the way.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's not just Vox Machina 2.0. It's just so weird how this whole first half of the season is, Mark is burnt, all the superheroes are burnt out. Mark has to deal with maybe being a killer, maybe not. Then we get to the Viltrumite stuff. And I like some of the new characters added here, like, what's the girl's name? The one who they changed from a boy to a girl.
Oh, Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe.
Oh, you mean Tech Jacket?
Yeah, Tech Jacket. I like her. I wish she was a little more interesting or had a little more time to interact with other characters. Though I like her stuff with Alan. And I guess it's just, I like Alan. So, he's like the best character of the show, and not just because he's Seth Rogen. But then with all, like, these other characters, like, I don't care about Space Rider or whatever his name is, the guy with the gun. And they got Winston Duke to voice him for like 5 minutes. And that's another thing with this show. People are like, well, where's the money going to go if it goes to the animators? Well, it's definitely not going to go to its bloated celebrity voice cast. I think it's officially distracting now how many celebrities they get for this show.
Really quick, regarding Space Racer, I think that's his name. Is the problem with the character just the fact that we don't see enough of him, or did they purposely not give him enough to do because his character is just not really there? All he has is a gun.
Yeah, he has big gun.
Big. he got gun. That's all. And I think it is like he's a plot device. There's nothing else to him. And like they say in the show, like, why don't we just mass manufacture those guns? And it's like, yeah, why do you need Space Racer for? What's his whole deal of why he needs to be the only one to use the gun? Outside of that one moment in the second to last episode and such. And with the whole thing with the Viltrumites, part of me just feels like this species was doomed to kill itself to extinction. Like, I don't know. Part of me was thinking of like a darkly humorous way of like, because what we find out is that the guy voiced by Peter Cullen basically killed a huge population size of the Viltrumites that basically left them like 40, 50 strong. And, well, strong, quote unquote, because half of the Viltrumites in this season get killed pretty freaking quickly.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I hate the term power scaling, but I have to admit, in terms of world building, like, the powers are, like, you know, really inconsistent. Like, either, like, Viltrumites are these unkillable gods, or they just crumple like a sheet of paper. Like, there's no in between.
You know what they are? They're glass cannons.
They're glass cannons who are threats when the story needs them to be. Because otherwise, half of those people should have been dead. And, oh god, the whole thing with the Viltrumites. Okay, so one of the things that we get introduced to is Thrag, the big bad villain of the Viltrumites, voiced by Lee Pace. And a weird hang-up people had was when the Viltrumites invade the main planet. And the first thing you see of Thrag is he's like, no, my skull. And he has like the skull of the last ruler of the Viltrumites on a pedestal like it was a Superman Volume 1 comic from the 50s. And I don't think people understand how compelling villains are made anymore. And how pathetic these, like, nationalistic tyrant, like, dictator villains are. Like, really are under the bravado and manipulation and propaganda that they use to put people under their control. It was so weird to hear people be like, wow, Thrag, what a wuss in that first episode. And it's like, one...
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
That's the point. And two, wait. And then everyone was like, I technically wasn't wrong to complain about that last episode. And it's like, shut up. You're coping. Shut up. And then, of course, Thrag becomes a threat because the plot needed him to be. And I'll say this. I did like the plot point where they blew up Viltrum. Like, I get it. It's a extreme measure, but it's also like, this whole season's about, yeah, sometimes you need to take an extreme measure to take care of a situation. It's not that one guy voiced by Peter Cullen's fault that Thrag is a emotionally unstable psychopath. Like, I don't know. Like, what did y'all think about that whole sequence where Thrag was just like, no, I'd rather die, and then kills the guy, crushes his skull, and the whole, like, Viltrum being blown up?
Well, I mean, in terms of that, like, Thrag's reaction was kind of appropriate. Like, I do think that episode is the best of the season, and I will give him this. It's kind of interesting that ended up being the penultimate episode, and then episode 8 is, you know,
the fallout.
Yeah, instead of bumping it to next season, which I thought was interesting.
It's a different approach, but I like when Invincible does this, where they let the action heavy episode be the penultimate, where the finale can be like, oh, we won the war, or so we think we did, but the threat is still out there, and now we're kind of dealing with the fallout and how we're going to move forward. And as irritating as Mark's arc was in the first half, I was a lot more interested in how he was responding to everything that happened coming home from the war.
God, Mark and Oliver, man, just the total polar opposites of, like, writing, I guess, or performances. On one hand, I love the episode where Oliver and Nolan bond as father and son because their relationship wasn't strong in the first place. And yeah, there are some consequences to Nolan saying, yeah, that bug wife was just a distraction. And the son being like, wow, fuck me, I guess. And I'll say this, it gave us the two best jokes of the season, where Oliver maybe wanted to fuck a lobster. The whole, oh, I got the birds and the bees talk. Great. Just be like.
And then you remember it's like, oh yeah, that's right, he's part bug, so that actually checks.
He's like, that blue lobster was kind of sexy. Huh. Oh! And the whole conquest fake out, which I think this show is kind of leaning on its hyperviolence to pick up the fact that its animation is lackluster and its story isn't as put together as it could be, because one, you could put this back on the Hell episode where the whole thing of bringing Satan back to power, even though it was really cool to see Bruce Campbell play Satan as this beefy dude bro, gets killed or gets injured pretty, like, unceremoniously from the villain. And then with the whole sequence with Conquest and Mark getting his entrails, basically.
Yes, he gets mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, he gets mom's spaghetti. But I did love the joke of, like, oh, is Conquest going to come back? No. No,
that was actually fucking just funny. Like, I did appreciate that little troll job that they did.
It was probably the funniest of the post-credit gags. Like, they knew what we were all thinking.
It's like, he's not dead. Wait. Oh, so he is dead. Okay. It reminds me of that whole little subplot with the mummy, like the cursed mummy pharaoh, where he's just like, wait a minute, why am I being a raging misogynist? I'll just take over this woman's body and get out of here so I can rule the world before getting forked over again by Invincible or whatever and such. I don't know, man. I will say I did love the backstory part of, like, when, what's the guy's name that Peter Cullen voiced, Viltrum? The one who was just like, I'm the one who made the genocide surge or whatever. I did get a huge kick out of the fact that nobody brought this up in their videos. That it was, like, basically Optimus Prime and Megatron debating with one another.
Which is great.
I love that.
By the way, Peter Cullen's character is named Thetis.
Thetis, yeah. And talking with the previous ruler, who he ends up killing, which we knew that was going to be the case. That wasn't a big shock. But, like, the whole follow-up with Thrag showing that, yes, he is a big threat. Yes, he basically almost killed Nolan, Oliver, and Mark. Like, I like that Thrag is kind of pathetic. Like, he's a threat, but there's also, like, a really pathetic human side to him. human, quote unquote. And Mike, I do love that you pointed this out. I guess every Viltrumite has a mustache.
Seriously, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Like, the only people who don't have mustaches are obviously the children, but like literally every adult male Viltrumite has a mustache. Literally everyone.
So let's talk about the last episode, because this is a long podcast. With the last episode, because like the penultimate one was like, oh no, they're going to head to Earth, and this seems like to be the episode people like the most out of the whole season. I disagree. I think the Nolan Oliver episode was the best, but I did like the fact that the Viltrumites, spoilers for some reason if you still haven't finished the season, basically went undercover onto Earth. It basically didn't make a big deal out of themselves being there. And the fact that Mark went through so much PTSD, like fake outs throughout the whole episode, it was kind of cool that what's Mark's friend who has the boyfriend who was
William?
Yeah, William. Like, that guy was the only one to pinpoint that Mark is suffering from trauma and such. And it's like, yeah, wow, your supposed friends kind of suck, Mark, if they can't tell that you're suffering a little from trauma. But, it's just, I guess, something you can notice when you've gone through some of it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, like everyone complained about, a few too many of those fake outs. It's like, again, over-relying on the violence to elongate the runtime and make up for any shoddy writing. It happened a few too many times. I understand why they did it that many times, but at the same time, it's like...
It should have really just been, like, his mother and, like, Eve. Like, just his loved ones. Like, I know he cares about William, but it just doesn't hit the same.
We haven't seen William in so long.
Like, we haven't seen him so long. He's not even voiced by, like, Andrew Rannells anymore, and his boyfriend's not even voiced by Jonathan Groff anymore.
Again, with all the pointless celebrity voice casting when you're going to freaking replace them anyway. But I did like the scene where Mark and Eve getting back together, and Eve being like, yeah, I had an abortion, and my powers are back because of that. And I understand why Mark was like, I need to be here with you because I cannot worry about the war and everyone here at the same time. But just like so much of the show, it could have been handled better. Not that I've heard it's better than the comic version, but I don't know. As good as the acting can be or could be, I feel like it just could have been better. That whole scene.
Yeah, this one's kind of tough because on the one hand, I can understand like where Eve is coming from, but at the same time,
I mean, like, from a writing perspective, what do you think about the whole dialogue sequence between Eve and Mark, where Eve reveals the traumatic twist of, I had an abortion?
Well, I mean, again, I thought the acting was well done, and it was, like, quiet. I think it's just more, like, the storyline and, the pregnancy and, like, the comic books. We've done it so many times. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done it, but if they were going to do the storyline, at least bring something new to the table, which is kind of why I wish the show maybe went more like an X-Men 97 route in terms of like how it's adapting the stuff, because like episode, I think it was like episode 4 of 97, remember it? Like, that gives chills. Like, there's nothing, unfortunately, in this season that kind of gets me to that level.
Right. X-Men 97 was so good. Like, the more I think about it now, that you bring it up. And I remember just being like...
I can't wait for season 2. It's coming out in June,
Same.
supposedly.
Well, it'll be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival in June.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But
imagine them. They gave him like 2 years to do another season and gave them time.
I wonder what that feels like. Tell me, people who got 2 years to work on a show, or if you want to be in Witch Hat Adelier's shoes, 7 years. I did like the whole scene where Mark is flying, and then it's just like, oh boy, here we go, another fake out. Oh fuck, this isn't a fake out.
Yeah.
It's a good strategic plan from Thrag and a great threat. And do you guys think it followed through with the plot line of should have Mark have tried to kill him on the spot, or just like was it okay that he was like, no, I'm not a killer. I'm going to think about this it within the bigger picture of it all.
Well, I think it was more Mark realizing that he tried every other way. And yeah, maybe a little bit of it is violence isn't the answer. But I think it's more Mark realizing that Thrag is clearly capable of doing it. I mean, he can take Earth down just like that. And he doesn't have his dad, and he doesn't have Thetis anymore, so, like, realistically, what is he going to do here?
Yeah, he's out of options. So he's thinking as rationally as he can.
Yeah, he makes the difficult choice, which I think has been his arc the whole season. So he does do something by just letting it happen, because Mark realizes that sometimes you just can't fix shit.
No, you can't. So I give it kudos that they went that route, because I'm sure they would have, like a lesser storyteller would have said, no, he kills him right there on the spot. And it's just like, or lets the onslaught happen so you have something to look forward to in the next season. Though, this is what I want to see the next season. I want to see little progress from the Viltrumite repopulation thing going on, because everyone is realizing, wait, we have to work for a living? We have to pay bills? What do you mean I'm too tired to hook up with anybody? Clancy Brown's Viltrumite character is the only one getting laid in the show.
And he's like, I'm on the clock, baby.
While everyone else is like walking mysteriously and sternly, which, yeah, that's going to get a lot of people to come jump your bones.
Yeah, Anissa's like, oh, great. I love pretending to be an Earth woman and being constantly harassed all the time. This is definitely what I anticipated my life to be.
I just want to see them just do, even if it becomes like a what if special or something, just follow the Viltrumites and how they just realize how much Earth sucks, being like, maybe killing them would be a better upgrade than having to work 9 to 5.
It's gonna be interesting if it does go on that long, because I'm not gonna spoil it, but some certain things happen between like Mark and Anissa, and I'm genuinely curious how people are gonna react to that.
I think I know what you're referring to, and oh god, I'm terrified.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear this. Tell me off recording. So.
Oh yeah, not a problem.
It's just like, did this season spin its wheels a little? Like, I think it kind of did, because we're still stuck with a lot of the same villains who are still there, despite the fact that we know Mark and Oliver could have gone right through that dragon or killed that old man. I don't know why that old man is so hard to kill.
Which is like crazy. Like, I know they'd help, but like Mark can blow up a planet, but he can't kill like a geriatric old man.
It's just like that, and like that's the thing with some of these villains. It's just like, what's stopping Mark from just popping off robot heads, head and such, or like, I mean, he went on an almost violent rampage towards Titan where was that energy fighting the dragon? Just go through it. Oliver could kill the, what were the two brothers, like the two clone brothers?
Oh, the Mauler brothers?
The Mauler twins.
Yeah, the Mauler twins. Why is he struggling to take down a doofy, dumpy-looking dragon? Like, oh, whatever. It's fine, it's fine.
That is, like, Oliver is, like, now physically about, like, 15 years old. Like, he took out the Maulers when he was, like, 9. Like, dude, like, what the fuck?
And I know that they're building up the fact that he's not as strong or maybe not as strong as Mark and Nolan. But man, if you're going to do that, and I get it, he's a teenager, don't make him talk so much flack. To be like, I'm not afraid of Thrag, I'm going to beat him. Gets his arm ripped off and his jaw torn off.
Like that was just the literal kiss of death.
It's like, dude, no. Jacket. Could have done more. I feel like she was meant to be stronger than she was. I mean, she survived a lot. I was really surprised that none of the horrible violence the show likes to do to women happened to her. But, I don't know, with the fact that she has this tech suit on and then the whole space racer's gun tech that she probably could have adapted into her own tech. I don't know. Like I said, if we're supposed to get 9 more seasons of this show, Kirkman needs to change a few things. That's all I'm going to say. I just think this season was fine. Maybe better.
I think it was fine. I mean, I don't think it's as good as last season, but
I think last season had better highs. Like, even if they tried to cram too much in, I still remember way more positives about it, where I'm just trying to figure out, did I even like season 4?
I did like season 4, but I think I agree with what you said that, like, season 3's problem was that it was too much. Season 4 is the good stuff was at the end.
That's really it.
It's sad because, again, this is, like, all verified, and I'm basing this off of, like, interviews and, like, things that, like, I've personally heard. I don't see Invincible getting better the way things are now, unless something very drastically changes behind the scenes.
Which, I hate to say this, maybe Robert Kirkman needs to be taken off as showrunner. I know it's his show, his comic, his show.
His production company.
And I just don't think... I think he's the biggest weakness of his own production. Or he needs to have someone who knows how to run an animated show, because as long as we have other references and examples to go off of in terms of Amazon Prime original animation, like The Mighty Nine and Vox Machina, Invincibles is just going to look worse and worse as time goes on. They even don't let one of the plot lines have a solution at the end. Sorry, Monster Girl and Robot, whatever your name is, Rex. You're kind of stuck in an alien dimension, which I'm shocked that dimension is still alive, all things considered, what Nolan did to it in the first season.
Well, from what I understand, it's been like thousands of years since then in their timeline, so they've had time to fix shit. But even going with the other Amazon Prime, like, if you go to something that we all know had some obvious, like, production issues, like, if you look at Hazbin Hotel Season 1 versus Season 2 is, like, a significant upgrade. There's not really any, like, super noticeable animation errors. They're able to do more complicated things. There's, like, a lot more polished. I just don't see that happening for Invincible.
I don't think so. And which is funny because obviously Prime considers it one of its pillars of exclusives on its service. But as long as the animators are not given enough time to do anything, and Robert Kirkman keeps trying to treat this like a live action show, no, it's not going to get better. It might even get worse. It's going to be like that one joke from the Jujutsu Kaisen calling game arc, where it like goes from like super vibrant animation to still frames to like literal little children scribbles to it. It's like, I feel like we're going to hit that point, or that like that joke from Family Guy where like man, screw Fox. Peter, I wouldn't say anything about that if I were you. Oh, what are you gonna do? Slash our budget, please. I'm gonna get a beer, and he just kind of walks off like a South Park character into the kitchen and such. Like, it just seems like for a show that's this popular, Amazon should be giving it more resources. Or did all of the resources that it could have gone go to that stupid Melania documentary? So, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Unless y'all have any final closing arguments.
Nope, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, final thoughts are it's fine, it's good, I enjoyed it, but we have more exciting things to talk about in the future.
Especially since now we can talk about the filler month of May for animated features, which includes Swapped, Labyrinth, and Decorado. But we'll talk about that next time.
Until next time, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
Well, if you wish to find my complaining about how men kind of suck sometimes, or my general grumpiness, and then I just say something gay sometimes, you can follow me at crazylemur.bsky. That's social. I am also on Instagram at lemurs1, where I'm a little less angry. You know, I had my Snickers, so I'm all good over there.
And Cameron?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Cam's Eye View. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz, where I talk about and review movies and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also am a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for written dives into the world of pop culture, film, and TV media criticism. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Renegade Pop Culture. You can find us on YouTube at Renegade Pop Culture or Organite Zero. Find us on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need to escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.